In California, they've decided 3 strikes. 3 strikes for violent offenders. 3 strikes has been life in prison for violent offenders. But California, in their infinite wisdom, has decided to say that's awfully darn harsh. Maybe we don't understand them. In Minnesota, they have decided that you don't have to produce photo ID before voting. In Maryland, the first ever state-level DREAM Act, allowing in-state tuition for children of undocumented immigrants. In Colorado, they've decided to legalize and tax marijuana, not for cancer or anything else, just, smoke some pot. In Washington, the same thing. Arkansas rejected medical marijuana. In Massachusetts, they've decided, you know what, if you're a patient and you got certain things going on, sure, you can get high. Montana, uphold the medical marijuana laws. In Florida, on abortion, they wanted to amend the state constitution to prohibit the use of public funds for abortion. So, in other words, Florida said, you know what we're going to do is you can't just have an abortion and have somebody else pay for it because that's their hard-earned money, and they may be against abortion. Florida said, and in Montana, they've decided that corporations are not entitled to constitutional rights. If you're a small businessman, that's you. I'm a corporation. In Colorado, they decided that, you know what, we're going to have to limit your ability to give to campaigns. Elections have consequences. And here they are. The dollar fell last night. It fell against the euro. That's the place with Spain and Italy and Greece. It is, of course, the chiseled monument to stability, the euro, that they said would break up possibly soon. The dollar fell against that. Inflation is still on the rise. Ben Bernanke, good night for him. That's why the dollar fell, because your dollar is going to be worth less, because Ben Bernanke is going to be printing more. We're now facing the financial cliff, and immediately even Fox News was telling you that we have to accept the financial cliff, and maybe now the Republicans have got to start to compromise a little bit more, because this really was a mandate, really. When you look at it, I'm sorry, what? Have we even decided who won Florida yet? It was too close to call when I went to bed. Did you see the margins? And yet, even the mighty Fox News was demanding that the Republicans start to look at different strategies. Maybe it's time to reach across the aisle and start to look at maybe some of their racist policies. The financial cliff is coming. It will gut many things, including the military. Oh boy, if you were in Israel, you had a good night last night. Benjamin Netanyahu is now officially alone, as is the state of Israel. But don't worry. Anybody who has convinced themselves that Barack Obama is a friend of Israel, you'll find out in the next 4 years. One of us will be proven wrong. I was proven wrong last night. Let's hope that trend continues. It means that your health care is going to be more expensive now, no matter what they tell you. It means that you are not going to be able to pick your own doctor, no matter what they tell you, mainly because your employer is not going to be able to afford health care. It was designed to do this. It was designed to trip you into a single-payer health care plan. That single-payer health care, that's government insurance. That's government medicine, where they have a board that they told you never existed. Of course, it didn't exist in the healthcare plan. It existed in the stimulus package. They are very smart. The board it's more of a panel, almost kind of the panel that the Fabian Society. And of course, that esteemed playwright George Bernard Shaw talked about when he said, we all know somebody whose life isn't worth living anymore. Or as the president said, maybe it's best if somebody just tells you instead of that procedure, it's probably best just to take the pill. I'm glad we're continuing to devalue life on both ends now, abortion and doctor-assisted suicide. I did mention that passed in Massachusetts, right? Elections have consequences. And when your friends say, wait, what happened? I mean, we were the pioneers of so many great things in medicine. You just point out to them that elections have consequences. I don't know how we remain the leader in solving the world's medical problems, but if you are a member of a church, you did a remarkable thing last night. Wow. It was remarkable how you turned out. Notice and marvel at the miracle. Truly the miracle that was the faiths of this country. 4 years ago, I had a hard time meeting with pastors and preachers and rabbis. 4 years ago, they didn't want to talk to me. Last night, it didn't matter if you were Mormon or Catholic or an evangelical. People stood together. We're going to need to stand together again. As long as we're praying to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we're going to be okay. I'll pray with any man. And millions of Americans began to say that over the last 4 years. Some for the first time. I can't tell you if you live in West Virginia or Ohio. You decided to, in Ohio, pick the lie about the car companies, that it's on its way back, it's coming roaring back. You decided to believe that, and I was wrong last night. Let's hope that trend continues. But I would have placed my money on the coal industry and not GM or Chrysler, who had the day off yesterday so they could go out and vote. Oh, the union takes care of their own people, don't they? It's going to be harder and harder to frack, which is the way and the reason our energy is as cheap as it is. Gas, oil, and coal. Next year, when it's winter, about this time, and you want to turn on your heat, just remember one thing. Elections have consequences. But I'm sure that green energy is right around the corner, and it's going to change the world. I don't believe it, but I was wrong last night. Let's hope that trend continues. I have a ton of letters that came in from friends last night. Friends that anywhere from Navy SEALs to pastors to people I would think have so much faith that are all asking the same thing. What do we do now? Well, tell the righteous it's going to be well with them because they're going to enjoy the fruits of their deeds. And if you don't like Isaiah, let's try Yoda sitting under a tree with Obi-Wan, who's just materialized. That boy is our last hope. No, there is another. I mean, it's a really bad Yoda impersonation, but Pat's in no mood. I'm not going to ask him. A friend wrote to me, can we move to New Zealand? No, but if you're not in Texas, I highly recommend it. Have I mentioned move to Texas? Have I mentioned that today will be a record-setting day for guns and ammunition? I would recommend that you are grandfathered into the Second Amendment, and I would highly recommend. I love the people of New Jersey. I do, and I want to thank Governor Christie so much today for his leadership in the last couple of weeks. Boy, he has led us, hasn't he? Governor Christie is part of a state where really you can't really get guns. I mean, you can't. And New York. I mean, if you're in New York, I want to thank Bloomberg. You can't really get guns in New York. It's worse than New Jersey. But don't worry, because the people who are afraid for their lives in New York City, the people who are struggling right now, don't worry. As long as you leave your wife and your children when you go out to go stand in line for gas or whatever it is you have to do, don't worry, they're safe. Just get them a machete or a baseball bat. I know I'd feel comfortable saying to my wife, honey, just don't forget where the machete is. Because I feel so much better when I think somebody might break into my house and my wife just has to hack them to death. It's so much easier than a gun. May I highly suggest you get grandfathered in to the Second Amendment today. Oh, and don't forget the ammunition because, in Chicago they tried, and the first time they try, they usually fail, but they'll come back around to it to make sure that and then you're paying a fair tax on your ammunition. By this time, with the sound of my voice, if you're listening to us live, I'm guessing much of what was on the shelves of the gun store is gone. I wouldn't wait. I have some real plans for you, and positive, optimistic, not easy. And I'm going to need your help. And I think you're going to say that to your neighbor, too. I'm going to need your help. I don't know about you, but I got up this morning and I realized the confident feeling that I was getting was about the end, not about a race. I was fasting for a race, and I got up this morning still strangely confident. But today I know exactly where I need to go. And in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to join me.